All right, so if I were to say come up with someone that you think is a financial guru, I'm pretty sure that Dave Ramsey would probably be close to the top of the list. And I don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but honestly, if my wife and I ended up using Dave Ramsey's methods, we would not be where we are today. So in this video, I'm going to explain why we don't follow Dave Ramsey and share some things that we do differently. Now, before we go ahead and dive in, I want to say that I am not telling you to not follow Dave Ramsey, as I am not your financial advisor, but I'm simply sharing my opinions and why it makes more financial sense for us to not follow him. So one of the biggest things that Dave Ramsey is known for is his 7 baby steps. Now, personally, I can understand why these baby steps are put into place, but I have a few issues with them. One of the first things is that you don't start investing until you have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses and you pay off all your debt except for your house. Now, if we're honest with ourselves, the amount of time that it will take some of us to be able to get 3 to 6 months worth of expenses is a long time, especially if you don't make a lot of money. Now, I'm not saying don't save 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, but I think there needs to be more diversification when it comes to where I'm placing my money. So I took a completely different approach. We ended up putting $1,000 into a high yield savings account. Then we put the rest of our money into a tax brokerage account, and we ended up using $1,000 for our buying power, just in case if something were to go wrong, we would still have that cash available. Now, of course, as our portfolio continued to grow, we ended up increasing our cash position, but this was just a starter for us. Now, what this allowed us to do is invest when the markets dipped like it did at the beginning of this year. But also, if something were to go wrong, we'd still be prepared for it. Now, when it comes to Dave Ramsey's ideas on debt, I have a few issues with that. First, the word debt has such a negative connotation that we almost make all debt the same. But if we were to look at our own debt, credit card debt is not the same as a mortgage loan. The amount of interest on these debts varies significantly, and that helps us determine whether or not we want to pay off this debt. So here's what we do. If the interest on our loan is under 5%, then we want to keep those loans. But if the interest is above 5%, then we want to be able to pay those off as fast as we can. The reason why we say 5% is because the stock market should easily outperform 5%. Rather than paying extra to get rid of the loan, you could simply invest into an index fund and end up making more money than if you paid off your loans faster. Now, if I was struggling to make payments and invest, then that's a completely different story. Before my wife and I, we used this strategy and it has worked so well for us because the amount of money that we would be putting into these loans is actually growing at a faster pace when we put it into the stock market. And the other thing that I disagree on when it comes to Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps is paying off your house early. Especially with where the interest rates are right now, it doesn't make sense for us to pay off our loans faster because the appreciation of a home is actually around 3.5%. Now, the only exception that I can think of is if someone were to want to have a peace of mind over knowing that their house has been paid off. And sometimes that overrides the option of what makes more financial sense. And if that is you, I totally respect that. But as I was saying earlier, we're making so much more money investing it into the stock market than we would be paying off our loans. Now, the other thing that I disagree with when it comes to Dave Ramsey's philosophy is the idea of not having a credit score. I don't know about you, but honestly, that seems crazy in my opinion. I mean, we use credit all the time, from homes to apartments to getting new cars, all those different things. And unlike popular opinion, I've actually increased my income from using credit cards, from the cashback as well as the welcome bonuses. So in my mind, if you know that you can make your monthly payments and the interest rate is low enough, then I would invest that money and don't pay off any of your loans. Now, of course, if we were to look at things like credit cards where the interest rate on those things is like 20%, it doesn't make sense to not pay those off. But for something like a house that's at 3.5%, or even a personal loan that may be at 4%, or student loans that could be around 3.5% to 4%, you could potentially be losing money by paying off those loans rather than using that money that you would be getting from a paycheck and investing that into a brokerage account or a Roth IRA. So what would I do if I were just getting started? The first thing I would do is I would make a budget, and I would make sure that I was putting my money into a savings account as well as putting it into an investment account. When you take money from your paycheck first and distribute it into those 2 accounts, it forces you to be a little bit more frugal with the money that you now have. And then that money that you're putting elsewhere is actually growing over time. I would only pay off loans if they are under 5%, and then whatever money is left over even after that, I would invest that as well. Also, if I didn't have a credit card yet, I would definitely get a credit card. Personally, what I have done is I have made a budget, and every single week I would record every single payment that I've made. And then after recording all of that data, I would go into my accounts and pay off all the credit cards. Then over time, I would increase the amount of credit cards that I have. And that would allow me to increase my credit score faster because I would actually be increasing the amount of available credit that I have. But if you want me to talk more about credit cards and budgeting, feel free to leave a comment down below. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you don't mind, would you consider destroying that like button? That helps this channel immensely, as well as comment down below. Wait, I already said that. And if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. That way you are notified when new content comes out. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you in the next one.